Now, the police has arrested 20 people, including the prime accused of violent clashes that happened on Hanuman Jayanti. Families of the accused have rubbished allegations claiming that they were falsely implicated. Meanwhile, BJP leader Kapil Mishra has called this a terror attack and linked these riots or the clashes that took place in northwest Delhi similar to that of northeast Delhi that happened in 2020. Let's have a look at this detailed report. A day after Delhi riots 2.0, the alleged key conspirators Ansar and Aslam Ali are nabbed by the police. Ansar is accused of triggering the scuffle while Aslam Ali allegedly opened fire at the yatra. The pistol allegedly used by Ali has been recovered. A cop too was injured in the alleged firing by Ali.
आपके हाथ में गोली लगी है? तो क्या उस वक्त क्या हुआ था? आप हिंसा के दौरान वहां मौजूद थे, हुआ क्या था एग्जैक्टली? हैं? भीड़ में से गोली मारी आपको? तो कितने पुलिसकर्मी घायल हैं? 4-5 पुलिसकर्मी घायल हैं।
Families of the accused, though, have rubbished the allegations and claim that Ali has been falsely implicated.
जब पत्थरबाजी हुआ था तब आपका पति था?
सो था इधर घर में।
सोया था? वो पत्थर वहाँ पे नहीं गया था?
नहीं गया था।
तो पुलिस को आपने बोला था?
नहीं बोला था, मैं सो गई, वो उठा के ले चले। बाद में सुबह से बोला था रात में ये तुम्हारा पति के उठा के ले गई, तो मैं उसी से बारे थाने में आई थी।
पहले आपके पति को कभी अरेस्ट किया था पुलिस?
नहीं है,
पहली बार अरेस्ट किया।
Meanwhile, CCTV footage reveals another instance of shooting. Police are now trying to identify the shooter. Images show pistols, stones, bottles and swords were used in the clashes. BJP leader Kapil Mishra has called the violence a terror attack. He claims that people involved in northeast Delhi riots in 2020 are the same who are involved in this latest violence.
ताहिर हुसैन से, खालिद सैफी से, उमर खालिद से, सबसे इनके कनेक्शन है। जब जहांगीरपुरी के आतंकी हमले की जांच हो रही है, तब अंसार के और बाकी अपराधियों के दिल्ली दंगों के क्या कनेक्शन थे, उसकी जांच भी जरूर की जानी चाहिए।
The police say the situation is under control now, but the clashes have raised some serious questions. Why were people in the Shobha Yatra allowed to carry swords? Why was the yatra, which passed through a communally sensitive area, not given enough police deployment? Bureau Report, India Today. All right, let me quickly cut across to our panelists joining us to give us an understanding on the situation that currently prevails across of the country. Of course, the news peg here is what happened in Delhi. Absolutely shameful and shocking. What we saw in 2020, the Delhi riots that unfolded, which killed 53 people. A similar situation took place right here in Delhi, northwest Delhi area. It could have easily snowballed into casualties, but thankfully the police came in time. Even many of the police personnel were injured at that point. Let me introduce Anuja Kapoor, who's the spokesperson of the BJP, joining us. We also have Mr. Sandeep Shastri, Dr. Sandeep Shastri, who's a political analyst, to give us an understanding, and further also Jasmine Shah, who's the vice chairperson of Dialogue and Development Commission, Government of NCT. Let me quickly cut across to our BJP spokesperson here, Anuja Kapoor. The allegation that the BJP is making is that in fact, community members are trying to target a religious procession across the country, and this is almost a terror strike. A religious procession was being carried out through a Muslim-dominated area. One would expect that this will turn violent, and yet you had people through that procession wielding swords and moving through communally sensitive religious areas, and with loudspeakers blaring, chants being raised, and then eventually culminating into violence. No justification to the violence, but what about the what kind of justification would you give for allegations of the procession trying to provoke this kind of communal unrest?
Nabila, I would just say that this is not a provocation. What happened is very sad and it is very painful. Not only for you, it is for me too. We all belong to a very, very harmonious family. And seeing this pain to erupt in a communal form hurts each and every part of the society in India. We have not only seen this kind of a violence only in Delhi. This Delhi is seen now. We are seeing from Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan. We're seeing from all sorts of from the states itself. And this has now come to Delhi. Now, when we see this kind of a communal rights, it's been given the name because what is going on is that there are people who are going to get advantage with this. There are people who is trying to break the peace and harmony, not only of Delhi, but of India. Who are these people? Who are the ones? The law and order they are taking in their own hands. As you have rightly spoken about Ansari, this guy, he was also the mastermind where he was also talking about the CAA in 2020 and NRC.
No doubt. In fact, I'd like my producers to show those visuals of the man who was wielding a weapon, wielding a gun. If we have those images, I'd like you to show those images. We want to highlight, name and shame that man. There you have it. We're yet to identify the name of this person, but he seems to be a habitual offender. He was also part of the CAA, the riots, the Delhi riots that broke out in 2020, where this man is seen wielding a weapon. He's also shot at the agitated crowd, and this is what really leaves us shell-shocked. In the heart of the capital city of Delhi, you have people like this having weapons stored in their homes. They're coming out at the moment the slightest instigation that you see, you have all of these men stepping out with their swords, with their guns, attacking each other brutally in front of police. What we're all the more surprised is, knowing very well that these are communally sensitive areas, how come there was no adequate police deployment? Jasmine Shah, do you want to jump in on that? Barely any police deployment. Once the communal clashes broke out, it was almost like an act of post-mortem, when they tried to jump in and tried to carry out damage control to whatever little that they could. In the melee, almost 12 police personnel got injured.
Yeah, and I think let me track the series of incidents that have been going on in Delhi for the last 3-4 years, because then it'll be very clear what is really happening in Delhi. Just last month, the house of the Honorable CM of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal ji, was attacked, and that mob was led by a BJP MP, Tejaswi Surya, and the BJP Yuva Morcha leaders. They broke boom barriers, they broke CCTVs. Now, what did BJP do? They never condemned these people. When they were released by the police, they were welcomed and they were given respect. And they were told that what you did is exactly what we want to be done. Same incident happened 2 years back in the house of the Deputy CM, where BJP leaders broke into the house, created ruckus and violence, and they were welcomed by BJP. We know Delhi riots also what happened. It was a BJP leader, Kapil Mishra, who gave the instigation, and after that the mob followed. Even over here, and I'm saying this with a lot of responsibility, because yesterday Hanuman Jayanti was observed in many parts of Delhi. It was not just being observed only in Jahangirpuri. But why did the violence happen only in Jahangirpuri? And this throws the question that this is only a doing of BJP. Incident after incident, BJP leaders and BJP workers have reduced themselves to a party of criminals and hooligans. And Delhi police, mind you, in each of these instances, Delhi police is there, but they don't take action at that point in time. Who knows why are their hands being tied? Who's tying really their hands? Because we know that Delhi police is a very hardworking police force. But we saw that during the Delhi riots, we saw that during incidents of attack at Deputy CM and CM's residence. We also saw that the BJP president in Delhi, Adesh Gupta, he broke into a government office, Delhi Jal Board office. He broke the CCTV systems. He broke the office furniture. No action being taken, nobody being put inside jail. So it's very clear that BJP is today sending a signal across the country to the youth of this country that if you believe in creating ruckus, if you believe in creating violence, there is BJP who will protect you and who will further, in fact, promote you.
Oh,
and
Jasmine,
then there is Aam Aadmi Party that is
Jasmine Shah, since you also belong to the Aam Aadmi Party, Delhi is governed by the Aam Aadmi Party. If anything, this could have been anticipated yourself. You also have a responsibility towards law and order. Don't just shrug it off to the police and blame it on the BJP entirely. It's also your responsibility to ensure peace and harmony in the state of Delhi at this point. But a quick word from Sandeep Shastri, who's been tracking the political developments across the country, Mr. Sastry, we're looking at a similar pattern breaking out in different states of the country, be it Karnataka, where we're seeing a spurt of communal violence erupting in the last few months, now we barely know that in about 11 months, Karnataka is going to elections, so it's a very designed pattern that it appears to be. And then you have, of course, Gujarat, where we had violence reported on Ram Navami. You had Madhya Pradesh, you had Jharkhand, West Bengal. These are states that in a series, in fact, one after the other, on the day of Ram Navami, saw very similar patterns of violence, where a religious procession was being carried out across a Muslim-dominated area, and their stone pelting was reported, and then eventually a bunch of them have been arrested and put in jail, mostly those belonging to the minority community. Now, of course, the BJP always has been saying that this is an attack against Hindus at large, and this is what we see during processions like this. But how do you look at it? At a point when we're looking at trying to better relations between the communities at large in a country that is so diverse. Instead, we see political parties indulging in creating a larger divide, a deeper fault line between these communities.
You have provided a wonderful preamble for what we should be discussing, and I will quickly make 3 points on the issues you have raised. If you look at the developments across the country in the recent past, we are seeing this very sad carnival of hate and violence that is being spread. And this hate and violence is resulting in our dividing people and communities into we and they rather than into us. Why is this happening? Let me make 2 points on that. I think all political players for short-term political gains are allowing the unleashing of this communal monster to be able to take the political benefit of the same, little realizing the long-term political, social consequences of this event. And my third point, which is an appeal I would make to everybody, as we see these events unleashing across the country, can we bring in some moderation in our language, in defining our stance, and in challenging the ones who we feel are responsible for this? Because I believe this moderation in our language in response to what is happening is where the solution lies. We should not be adding fuel to the fire,
Absolutely.
but we should be trying to douse the anger.
Absolutely.
Now, you see the language which is being used. That language is provocative. That language is aggressive. That language is abrasive.
It's come down to a tit-for-tat situation in almost every scenario. A murder for murder. If you look at what's happening in Kerala's Palakkad, an SDPI worker was murdered. Therefore, in retaliation, an RSS worker was murdered. In retaliation, another SDPI worker was murdered. We're looking at a cycle that's being repeated, and somehow politicians find the need to justify it as heinous as murder crimes. It very rarely do we see anyone really condemning it, but instead we're looking at a narrative that's being built about because he did, because she did, because this party did, that radical outfit did. That's why the retaliatory attack. And that's what we've come down to as a country today. It's very unfortunate. Mr. L.N. Rao, considering politicians don't find it responsible enough, it's not their responsibility, clearly it looks like, to maintain communal harmony, is the responsibility now shifted to the police department? Should not have the police been there in adequate numbers, knowing very well that an area like that, which is Muslim dominated, very well could erupt in communal disharmony if at all a massive Hindu procession is passing through that area? Should not there have been adequate police deployment? Why was there post-mortem action taken? Why was it not preempted?
Yes, Nabila, this is a very brilliant question you have raised up. As and when these religious processions are carried out, not only this area, every area where is the communal sense, we in Delhi police, we have earmarked some communal sensitive areas. And in every area, police is deployed adequately, and intelligence collection is also done by the special branch people They do it at their own level, special branch, as well as local police also collect the information. And at the same time, this heavy deployment is also made as per their requirement. But saying that it was erupted only in Jahangirpuri, that could have been also erupted somewhere else also. But not only Jahangirpuri, the area was there. So many other places where in East Delhi, where there was some violence in 2020 February. There also was the same situation. There also were the two communities and the religious procession were being...
Yeah, that's precisely what we're saying. Why hasn't the police learnt by mistakes? Why is the intelligence department not quick enough to know that this is a situation that could quickly turn violent? That these areas, and when we're speaking about any area is different. Muslim-dominated areas, when a Hindu procession is passing by, we know how infamous Muslim-dominated areas are and very susceptible to violence. It's unfortunate that those areas, despite repeated cleansing by the police, still manage to have stones kept in store. They have weapons that they are keeping at home. God knows where they access it from. But we know that these are areas that are sensitive and are notorious for such kind of violent acts. So these are Muslim-dominated areas where a Hindu procession is passing through, and many allegations are that these people who are part of the procession are also instigating in many ways, that they're going in front of mosques, hoisting saffron flags, heckling the people who are right there along the mosque, shouting slogans in many areas, in some of the areas, in some localities, saying things like jo topi pehnega wo bhi Ram kahega, stuff like that, insinuating, and can very well turn into communal clashes. When the police very well knows that this is going to be a situation that will unfold, why aren't they carrying out adequate security to these processions going into those areas? If anything, don't allow processions into those areas, because we do not want to have casualties. At the end of it, it's a common man who bears the brunt. 53 people died in the 2020 riots, Delhi riots. Why have the procession pass through a very communally sensitive area? Why can't it be restricted?
No, Nabila, that's very important that that communal processions cannot be restricted only because there may be some violence. But no doubt,
if it is a law and order situation?
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you that there may be some slackness on the part of the intelligence agencies and the local police. That's why this situation arose, and there was a loss of so many properties, and so many people have been injured in this matter. And it's very risky for the other residents there also. Not only there, this location, everywhere that alertness is there. But at the same time, I must say that these political parties, they are bending upon their vote banks. They should also consider it that they should make that people here, that the representative of the area, that MLAs, they should also interact with the people in such type of situation where the religious processions are being made. They should make that...
And that's precisely a question here on India Today. Shouldn't political parties take responsibility to try and contain a situation like this instead of fan it? Anuja Kapoor, a quick word. As much as the BJP is calling this a terror attack, and there's enough and more onslaught coming in from the side of the BJP calling this an attack on the Hindu community itself, shouldn't you really be changing the narrative at this point? Where did swords come from in the hands of many of those people through that during that procession? How come there was no action taken against those people wielding swords?
Yes, Nabila, that's why I'm saying that
I would just say one thing more on this, that enough has been done from both the sides. As a responsible citizen of India and a responsible party, we from your channel are talking to all the citizens of India, please be calm now. Please, whatever has happened, there is no more violence should be there in India. It hurts the people, it hurts the parties, it hurts the communities, it hurts small children everywhere. It has to stop. And what is happening now is very sad, because Ramzan and Hanuman Jayanti has been keeping on happening many times. It is just that whenever there is a polarization has to be done, it happens. Now, if we look into Aam Aadmi Party, because the MCD elections were being unified and the elections were on hold, we see this kind of problem. And because there are Bangladeshis there in Jahangirpuri, that is where it is the problem. Now we...
go on.
I would like to say only one thing to the BJP spokesperson first, that
Delhi,
have no
just
right
let
to
me
preach to the people of India when your own state BJP president is welcoming and garlanding those who attacked in broad daylight in front of police the house of the CM. This is the precedence that you are setting in front of the youth of the country. Your own
Kashmiri,
leaders are breaking into the
allow me to speak on this then.
and creating ruckus.
Okay,
and
go on,
violence.
Ms. Kapoor. Go on, Ms.
Please do
Kapoor.
not preach to the people of this country. You have reduced BJP today to a party of criminals and hooligans.
Allow me to speak,
and
sir.
it is under your safe haven that all these people today find the courage to create
Party
violence,
who's a hooligan
not in a corner of
themselves,
India,
they have
but in the
Channi,
center of the entire
they have
country,
been
in the
standing
national
with
capital.
all the anti-national
It is your
people.
leader who is
Aam Aadmi
giving
Party should not say anything. The
statements. That
Jarnail
is why the
Singh is
Delhi riot
also with
happened.
you.
So
And
on
our
one side,
president
there is
of
Aam Aadmi
Delhi,
Party,
Mr.
which is
Adesh
appealing for
Gupta,
peace, which
he
is
has
asking that the
honored those
investigative
people
agencies should be
because
doing their job.
they were the
but
ones
on the
who
other
could
side, there
tell
is BJP
Arvind
that is
Kejriwal
continuously
that
inciting
the
violence in
Kashmiri
one form or the
Pandits,
other.
which
And
the
not
way
just
he
some
has
karyakarta. It
mocked
are your
them.
leaders who are
I
leading
think you
this
should be
series
asking
of violence.
your Aka, Arvind Kejriwal, how come he was mocking the people of Kashmir in that parliament?
Ma'am, are you today willing to apologize?
Did you ask him?
Not getting into past instances, let's stay focused here on what has happened in Delhi. A riot-like situation is very possible if situations like this is not contained in time. We're going to see another round of riots. This is exactly what we see political parties indulging in, a blame game. And unfortunately, very little responsibility taken for what's happened. Can I take a final word from Dr. Sandeep Shastri? A word of advice, Mr. Shastri. We're looking at barely a year away to 2024, about 2 years away to 2024, about a year away to Gujarat and Karnataka elections. And we're seeing a spurt and a wave of communal violence that's happening across different parts of the country. What's the real damage that this could do in the far future or a near future?
I think what we were just now talking about, the need for moderation in language, you saw the counter of that on the program itself a little while ago. Rather than stoking further controversy, the role of political parties should be to find a solution and not do this blame game of you are responsible, I am not responsible. Can we move from me and you to we?
Right.
When will we start looking issues as challenges that we face, not challenges you create and problems that I solve?
Right.
The moment it goes into my problems, your solutions.
No, we are one country, Mr. Shastri. If anything, this is about time that we introspect and try to solve the situation at the earliest, because this seems like it's going out of hand and it's scary. Word very well taken. Thank you very much, Mr. Shastri. We are short on time. Thank you very much, Ms. Kapoor and Jasmine Shah, Mr. Rao as well, for joining us with those details. But these are instances that we're seeing repeatedly in the recent past. The Delhi riot-like situation that unfolded last night. We're looking at 14 people who've been arrested. A lot of political reactions coming in on this. Investigations continue on what really instigated these clashes. We're going to continue keeping the spotlight on that. Thank you for watching.